Hi again, welcome to this second video on the Lepel offensive operation, scenario number 3 of Barbarossa Army Group Center. In this video I will focus on combat, first of all on the sequence of play for combat, declaration, reaction plus the properly combat phase, and then I will explain how as far as I understood, the air support, the air combat works for air support, and then the land combat. So what you are seeing in the image is the situation in the northern part of the map, so in the upper half of the map, at the end of the axis movement phase, and when the attack declaration phase was on its course. So here you see that the axis has to declare the attacks by adding some markers, which I moved in order to show you all the pieces. So this declared attack goes here, this goes here. There is a third one hidden below the orders marker. Then there is another one here, another one here. And now there are other two which are not indicated. One will affect this X on the northern part of the map, and then another one below declared attack number 5. Why is that? Well, let me erase what I just marked. This is because when you declare an attack in this game, if you are in contact with two units, with two X's, you must declare the attack to all units in both X's. So, for instance, in this case, these units here, if they attack, they should attack here and here all together. But the axis units on this other X can only attack these units in the northeast part of the X, and therefore they cannot participate in the attack that the units in this X would do on the two contiguous X's. So what you have to do in that case, is the following. What you have to do is you can attack with these units only here, so you can free these units to attack only here. So you have to choose between attacking from this X, the two contiguous X's, the two touching X's, or do it as I just showed. Another example is in declare attack number 5. These units here should attack, if they attack alone, they should attack in both directions. In order to avoid this, and allow these units to participate, what you can do, the option you have is the following. You can attack this X with the units in X number 30, 19, and then the declared attack number 5 would be that coming from this reconnaissance unit and the units below it, in the stack, all the stack would attack in that direction. This is important because this is unlike in many other games in which you can choose one X to attack. If you're in touch with two X's, you have to attack both unless you avoid it by a second attack, by means of a second attack. So after having explained this peculiarity of the attack declaration in this game, I will talk about the following sequence of play. After the attacks are declared, then the Soviet player has its reaction phase, in which it can apply reaction movement from motorized units or activated units at half the movement allowance, which didn't happen in this case, either because the units were in an enemy zone of control or because they were in interdicted zones. This avoids the units to be used for reaction, or because they were farther than 3 hexes from the combat. Those conditions forbid reaction movement. Then the Soviet players, can allocate artillery. For instance, in declared attack number 1, there is an artillery unit at a distance of 2 hexes. So if you see, the range of the unit is on the upper left corner of the marker of the counter, and then you can use that unit for support. Okay, let me recover the previous view. Fine. Then, and there is another one here on the bottom right part of the screen, in which this artillery is going to support this secondary combat below declared attack number 5. And finally, the Soviet player can issue orders, retreat orders. The retreat orders are hidden from the other player, and they are only shown just before the combat is run. And these orders are basically two ways. One is no retreat, which gives you a +1 roll modifier in the combat, or an extra retreat, which would allow your units to retreat 1x further. We will talk about this when we talk about land combat, and now here you just can see that there is such orders in this combat. This combat is important because it affects the second hex belonging to the city of Vitebsk, with 2 victory points in play here, and it is important that these orders marker have to be can only be issued when you are in the range of a headquarters. Here we have a headquarters which is operational. Let me erase previous lines so you can see it better. So we have this here, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4 X's. So this is in range, and you can issue orders there. Okay. After the Soviet reaction phase, we have the proper combat phase, the Axis combat phase in this case, and we would start it in this scenario by allocating the air units that would bring support or cover fire for these support units in each attack. The Axis declares first, and then the Soviet comes afterwards. The Axis can bring up to 3, the Soviet can bring up to 2. And then comes the air combat. So in this combat number 1, this one, only the Axis brought a unit and declare attack number 2. There was 1 and 1. Number 3, the important one at Vitebsk, we have 3 and 2 maximum. And then in number 5, this go to number 5. This is 2 and 1. Sorry, excuse me, forgot here. We have 2 and 1. The Soviets can bring, as I said, up to 2, but because they have less ready units, well, they have to decide where to bring most of them. Now, the first thing one has to check is whether there are firing units. So those which have an F on the upper right corner of the counter. Let's see. Here we have, for instance, 1, and here we have 2 Soviet ones, and here there is the last one. On the right is an Axis firing unit. If there are no firing units, there is no air combat, and the mission units, so the bombers, go straight to the anti-air fire phase, and if they go through it, then they will count for the combat. They will bring support to the combat. So let's go into the air combat. In this image here, I have just spread all the units in declared attack number 3 at Vitebsk, and we have the 3 Axis unit and the two Soviet units that will be used for the air combat or support. Okay, the first thing is to roll for initiative. Here we have the air initiative table on the upper left corner of this card, and you roll, and basically who has the initiative can decide which units will fight which units of the opponent. there is also the chance that there is no air combat, and then the firing units are moved to the flown box, and only the mission units remain and have to go again through the anti-air fire. Let's go back to this case, and well, in here I rolled and the Axis got the initiative, so the decision was this the Axis firing unit would be fighting this Soviet unit, and then the bomber would have to face this other firing unit. Then you have the air combat number would be this one here, the big number on the left. So what you have to do to perform the air combat is you compare these numbers. So the Axis unit has a +3 and the Soviet unit has -3, and in this case they would both have 0. Now with this you go to the air combat table on the right, and so in the first combat the Axis unit would roll in this column and the Soviet unit would do in this other one, and the other two would roll in this column. The combat is simultaneous, so the effects are taken on both sides. And what happens when you have one extra unit? Well, this unit would fire also to one of the others and wouldn't get any counterfire. So I decided to fire the second Soviet fighter, and well, after the rolls, this was the result. Only one Axis unit remained, and then it has to go through the anti-air fire. Oh, sorry. Now it's fine. So it will have to go through this anti-air fire table with the modifiers that are sitting here, and in this case it's the Soviet firing, and because this is a Junker 87, then it will have a -1 modifier in this table, so that's positive for the Axis. And well, all these different results can take place. So well, you can get a nasty result there too. And if it goes through, then it brings, as I said, support to combat. So in this case, the support it brings to combat is given by this first value here, which is -2 in the roll for the it's a die roll modifier of -2 in the combat table, as we will see later. The air combat is just the same for the interdiction missions. This happens at the beginning of the turn during the air phase, and in that case the interdiction index is this one. So this value is the interdiction level that the mission unit would automatically place on top of the X to which the mission was headed, and it is, if there is a headquarter, it is compared with the command level of the headquarter, so it can just remove all the possibilities for the headquarter to activate units or to just act as a reaction trigger movement for a trigger for reaction movement for Soviet units. But there are other cases. For instance, if we go back to the first image here on the left, on the top left, in declared attack number 1, the air unit is a bomber, and the anti-air fire. So here there wouldn't be any air combat, obviously, and we will go directly to the anti-air fire. However, the anti-air fire is performed by the units on the attacked X plus the ones on the surrounding X's. But in the Soviet case, this unit has to be a division. The unit here is smaller than a division, and it has no other units surrounding it, so, and the surrounding X's, so there is no anti-air fire. So in this case, the support is automatical. So you get to this -2 die roll modifier in that case. Okay. Another thing that you have to remind is that there is no second round. So after the first round, the firing units have just go to the flown box, either if they are just got a non as a result, so no result, or if they were aborted, they go to the flown box, and obviously to the damaged or destroyed box if that's the case. Now, coming back to declared attack number 3, here we have all the land axis units on the top, and bottom is the Soviet units. We had the orders given by the Soviets. Now, after the air combat, the Axis declares or allocates the artillery units that will support the combat with its support strength, and has also the option to give orders. In this case, because the combat was at Vitebsk and the Axis units were attacking from one of the two Vitebsk hexes, and also because as a result of the land combat you can get a retreat for the attacking units, I decided to issue a no-retreat order for the Soviets first, in order to avoid losing the hex, and also another one for the Axis. These are covered now, but what these counters do is to give a +1 die roll modifier for the defender, and in this case would be a +1 for the attacker, which is a -1 actually, because in the combat table, the lower the value, the better for the attacker. Or at least this is what I understood. So in this case, we would get a -2 because of the air support, and -1 as a die roll modifier for the attacker, and +1 for the Soviet no-retreat order. So this would cancel out, and you would have only the -2 here. Then you would roll and go to your column and check the result. In this case, we have 3 plus 3 plus 4. This is 10, 14, 17, and then the defender has 1, 2, 6. So 17 to 6, which makes almost a 3-1, but it's a 2-1 with a -2 die roll modifier. So this is your column here, and you have to roll and get your result done. Everything is pretty clear. The top result is for the attacker, the bottom result is for the defender. There are other modifiers. For instance, there is the combined arms bonus, which is something you can use if terrain, weather permit. In this case, it's a city, so forget about it. It's also cancelled. Here you can see for the defender, this cancels the combined arm bonus if you have an armor anti-tank or anti-air units that can be used as anti-tank too. And actually here you have an anti-air unit, so forget about combat arm bonus, sorry. And what you have maybe is this Panzer Division Integrity, which requires you to attack with a Panzer and a motorized infantry unit and a reconnaissance unit, or 2 motorized infantry units. So let's check. And actually we have here, we cannot apply it because we don't have a Panzer armor unit. So we have the reconnaissance units, but we don't have the Panzer unit. I will show you later a case in which you can do it. So we are missing 1 unit, so we don't have that modifier either. Anyway, in any combat, you have to just go through this, check whatever you can apply, whatever you cannot, and then for the defender, it's easy. You go to the terrain chart, and you can see whether you have to apply any other effects due to the terrain. In this case, it's a city, and they are attacking through a bridge. The Axis is attacking through a bridge, so they get halved. All the units get halved. And this affects the combat. In this case, then you would get 1 point half, 1 point half, and 2 and 2 4, so 3 and 4 7, 7 and 9 and a half. I think artillery units are not affected by this, so this would be 3, and in the end, instead of a 2-1, you will go to 1-1. The die roll modifiers would remain being the same, as far as I understood. Okay, let's continue. So here we have another last example of combat. In this case, We have the hex being attacked was this one, sorry, it was 3024. We had these two units, and they were attacked by all these units here, and this, excuse me, this unit was, this artillery unit was allocated to combat by the Axis. Actually, we moved it to the right, but it was at 3026, and the Soviet artillery unit allocated for combat was this one, so 2 X's from this X, which is the attack one. And in this case, so yeah, this I already turned to the fired position, the Soviet artillery, not still the Axis one, but here on the bottom left. But I would have to do so too. On the ready side of the Soviet artillery, you have a 2, 1, 5. So this brings 2 to combat. So in this case, the units would be 2 plus 2 plus another 2, so it would be 6 for the Soviets. And in the case of the Axis, we will have 2 plus 4, 6, 9. Here we have 10, 15, plus 2 from the artillery, it's 17. Again, 17, 6. But in this case, if you see these units, have a look at them, they all belong to these ones. This is 18th Division. This is the Panzer unit. Then we have a motorized infantry unit and a reconnaissance unit from the same division. This means we can use the Panzer Division integrity. So we can use this -1 die roll modifier. We cannot use the combined arms bonus because even if the terrain would permit, because it's clear terrain, there is an armored Soviet unit here, which is cancelling it. So that would be it in this case. We will have a 7-6, no terrain modifiers, so this is a 2-1, and we would have a -1 die roll modifier for the division integrity. Well, as you can see here, in the case if we would attack a strong point, we will have a +1 die roll modifier, which favors the defender, of course. So you just have to go through the table and check wherever modifiers you have to apply. That's important, and then you go to the table, apply your results, and that's it. Well, I think that's all from me, and I hope this is useful for you, and I made it clear enough. Don't hesitate to ask any questions or make any comments, because I am also learning, and I also maybe I am missing something, and you can just help me too. Thanks very much for your attention.